Thanks for the invitation. Thanks for the opportunity to talk about. I want to talk a little bit about technology and what is the opportunity in Mexico. I think the opportunity is huge, and what we do in GE with our engineering center in Querétaro is a great example, I think, of the opportunities and the growth that can come from investing in engineering technology. So I'd like to play a short video right now because it talks about some of the technologies that we are working on here in Querétaro. And this sector is really driven by technology. So if we're talking about growth and being a world player on the world stage, I think we need to think about how we invest more in technology, how we have a strategy, and I have some ideas how to do that. So I'd like to talk about the center, what we do in Querétaro, but also a little bit about how we see the future and what are some of the key technologies that we need to work on, invest on in Mexico. So Julio, go ahead.
In 1995, GE forever changed long-haul travel.
The record-breaking GE90 engine and its carbon fiber composite fan blades. Then, we redefined what was possible with groundbreaking technologies that took propulsion and fuel efficiency to the next level in the GE9X. And now, we're doing it again. The GE9X will feature just 16 fourth-generation carbon fiber composite fan blades that are thinner, stronger, and more efficient than any fan blade we've ever produced. A compressor with a pressure ratio of 27:1, the highest in the history of aviation. A next-generation lean-burning combustor capable of handling some of the highest pressures and temperatures ever seen in an aircraft engine. You'll also use advanced manufacturing techniques like 3D printing to build components that were, quite simply, impossible to make until now. And cutting-edge new materials, including ceramic matrix composites, which are twice the strength and a third the weight of metal. The GE9X will deliver 10% better fuel efficiency than its predecessor, with noise and NOx emissions well below regulatory standards. All with the world-class reliability our customers have come to expect from us. It's this level of imagination and engineering that's helping us build the world's next great engine to power the world's next great airplane, the Boeing 777X. The GE9X isn't a culmination of invention. It's a starting point of where we're going next.
Many of the components and technologies that go into this engine have been developed right here in Querétaro by the engineers, by Mexican engineers. So let's see if this is going to work. No? Yes? Okay, got it. All right, but I'll start at the beginning. So GE, big company, global company, about 300,000 employees operating in actually about 180 countries around the world, really built on technology. The company itself is driven by ideas and technology and innovation, and that's kind of why we are here. Okay? The point of and the approach is fairly simple, right? New ideas, right, with technology maturation for real markets makes a difference. That's how we drive innovation. That's how we think, and GE has been following this philosophy and thinking for the last 100-some years that's been in the existence. right? That's really the core of GE and the core of our approach here in Mexico. GE in Mexico it's been around since the beginning, about 120 years. We have about 11,000 employees in Mexico, many factories, many service shops, many commercial operations. But what I'm responsible for and what I'd like to talk about is our engineering center here in Querétaro, which has about 2,000 engineers. Before we get to the details of that, GE thinks about technology development in these various elements of the store, right? The idea of the company is that we have these somewhat independent businesses like aviation, gas turbines, healthcare, and so on. You can see them listed here. But the point is that the technology and engineering is really ran and coordinated centrally. And the benefit of having a big company together like this is that we can share ideas and we can share technologies between different businesses. So what we develop in one part of the world, in one business, for a gas turbine, we can use in an aircraft engine. What we develop in another part for an aircraft engine, we can use in a healthcare application on a CT scanner or an MR scanner. And it works very well. And it creates a foundation of how we think about technology and how we implement technology in our products. So you can go to the next slide, please. So here the highlighted parts of the store are the technologies and businesses that we support from our engineering center in Querétaro. And you can see aviation, big part of it, power, gas turbines, energy connections, which is our electrical systems business, dealing with transmission and distribution and electrical part of power generation, renewables, and oil and gas, which is now called Baker Hughes GE Oil and Gas. So, as I said, GE around until about year 2000 was very much an American company. Around that time, we started understanding that really to be a global company, we have to have access to talent globally, in addition to just operating and selling products globally. So we developed a number of global research and engineering centers, and we started in India, right? We have a big center with 4,000 engineers. We have a center in China. And for the Western Hemisphere, we started a center here in Querétaro. So in year 2000, we started from zero. And today, the center is about 2,000 engineers, close to. And it is one of the largest engineering centers of the company in the world. Okay. Actually, for aviation, it is the largest center, technology center in the world. We have no manufacturing. It is a global center. We are responsible for many projects in the region, and we cover most of the engineering work, not only for Mexico, but also for the rest of Latin America. But the technology and the development is really aimed at global application. So having the center here and having it for 17 years really kind of proves that Mexican engineers and Mexican technology can play with anybody in the world on the same level. Okay, so let's talk about the next page. All right, here's some demographics and a little bit of breakdown. You can see that the interesting number here is the average age of our employees is about 34 years, so it's very young workforce. We find it's very, people are very well educated. Mexico graduates, I think, close to 100,000 engineers every year. So it's a great opportunity. I find coming in from the outside and having looked at Mexico for a long time is that a lot of American companies view Mexico as kind of a built-to-print place. Build a factory and use the low-cost labor and success in that way. This is missing the point for us, and this is the proof, right? And the point is that there is a huge population of highly educated engineers that can do world-class technology development and engineering. And I think for us to grow the aerospace industry, this is where we need to invest, and this is what we need to drive here in Mexico. Okay? The other thing that's very important for us, we bring a lot of technologies to be worked here, and our engineers are really stretched, and they really learn a lot, and they really love that. But in addition to that, they feel to be the big contributors to their own communities, and they make a difference for the families and for the communities that they're part of. So we really focus a lot on building a world-class workplace, right? That is inclusive, that is open, and that really thinks about how we advance not only the interest of GE, but the interest of the country and the community and so on. And makes a huge difference to the people that work in the place. So let me talk about a little bit of aviation and what we do and where we think we need to go and invest in the future. As I said, this industry is driven by technology. It's driven by technology. You can see here the GE9X engine on the right and some of the characteristics of that engine, and compared to where we were about 100 years ago when we started the flight, right? And the progress in technology is mind-boggling, and it will continue. It will continue. The trends in the industry, important to understand that the drive for high performance and technology differentiation continues, and it will not stop. It will accelerate, if anything, right? Timescales for innovation are reducing, so we have to develop and introduce technologies faster and faster. The partnerships with governments are very important, right? A lot of the technology development that I kind of illustrated on the previous page comes from having really a focused strategy on the part of the government and partnering with the industry, right? And I think that's another opportunity for us to really partner with the governments on a strategic level and drive growth in this sector, right? And then finally, the push for better and higher performance of the components that we provide continues. You heard my colleagues from Boeing and Airbus, they just confirmed this. And this will not stop. So investing and driving technology differentiation is key for any growth. The aviation, GE Aviation portfolio is very broad. We talked about engines, but we do very fundamental research in materials that go into components. We do here some work for military and industrial applications. We do digital systems for flight management, a lot of software. We do a lot of electrical power, which I will mention a little bit later. A lot of the planes are getting more and more electrified, so electrical technology is key for the future, right? Mechanical systems and components. So very broad and very diverse portfolio of technologies and work that we are actually addressing and driving here in the center in Querétaro. So there's a lot there, but the question is, what should we be driving in the future, right? For a country like Mexico, or for any country, is really to lead in something, you need to really pick a few areas, because you cannot lead and grow in everything. And I think there are several technologies that I could propose that I know are very important. that we should maybe invest together, right? Partner with the governors and drive some growth there. One of them is advanced manufacturing and specifically additive. Additive manufacturing will transform the industry, right? The engines are probably some of the most complex devices that we design and build, and ability to build these very complex, lower volume parts in an additive technique versus a subtractive manufacturing makes a huge difference, because we are reduce the cost, we are simplify the manufacturing, we can reduce the parts and reduce the cost. So this is key to aviation, but it will be completely disruptive for every manufacturer in every industry in the world as this technology continues, right? This is fairly new. This is an area that Mexico can really think about and invest in, especially being a manufacturer of heavy metals and heavy manufacturing. This is this is an opportunity and a threat for Mexico, right? If Mexico becomes good, great, it can grow. If it doesn't, other countries will adopt a lot of this technology and, you know, take over the market share for Mexico. So this, I think, is very important, and we'll invest quite a bit in the center. We are bringing 2 machines over the next couple of months for laser deposition, metal deposition. We are already doing design, and we'll continue to invest in this technology, initially for the benefit of GE, but I think we should invest for the benefit for Querétaro and for this industry as well. Okay? The next one's very interesting. I think, as I said, the aircraft are becoming more and more electrified, and I think the propulsion, given the requests and demands on fuel efficiency, will become more and more electrified, right? So a portion of the engine will become more and more electrified. The use of batteries will be more and more, because the battery technologies from the automotives is becoming a lot more mature and the cost is going down significantly. So we'll benefit from that. And this is another technology area that we'll invest, and is an important area that is going to grow in the future for engines and for broader aviation systems. So very important area as well. And then finally, software. We call it digital, but really every aspect of what we do in technology, design, manufacturing, supply chain, and even business, it is a huge impact, right? So everything from connecting the designs all the way to manufacturing and services, using digital to do that, right? Everything about the design. The designs just get faster, better, higher fidelity, very, very important, right? And then finally, the digital capability that drives the manufacturer that I talked about, right? So these are areas, software and algorithms, embedded systems, for all of these areas is key for us. And these are the 3 areas that we'll continue to invest in GIQ, but I think could be important for the country, for the state, and for an industry that really wants to grow and be a leader in the world. So that's what I think. This is it. This is a photograph of the first building that we built in Querétaro. We have 4 buildings like this. It is a great site, and we'll continue to work, and it's a great opportunity to be in Mexico. Thank you. Do we have time for any questions? Anybody? Please. Yell. Talk louder. No. Come here. You come here. You can use this microphone. Coming up. Go ahead. How are you?
Pretty good. I'm Dr. Alex Martinez.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you.
It's super interesting. I was fortunate enough to listen to Greg Morris in Dayton a week ago. And he was talking about all the investments that GE is making into new companies and in acquisitions and all that into additive manufacturing.
Yes.
What would you suggest to small companies like myself that are really into additive manufacturing and trying to leave that way for a lot of the small companies? What would you suggest to them?
So I would suggest to do two things. We are actually building a consortium directly around additive manufacturing, because my idea is to bring together industry suppliers and companies that are interested in growing in additive manufacturing. And in fact, on September 20th, we are going to launch this organization. And so you could partner with us and work with us on ideas and how you can grow in this area. I think the other idea would be just push on the government to invest in this area, right? Invest in entrepreneurs that want to start companies in these areas, and help fund some of the technologies and equipment and infrastructure for this. And the third thing would be to help educate engineers at the universities in these areas. So these three things, I think we can do a lot.
Hi, thank you for the presentation, really interesting. I'm currently a supplier for additive manufacturing here in Mexico. How are you thinking of collaborating with companies that, like us, supply this type of equipment, and you are now a supplier as well in the marketplace? So.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We're just starting, right? So we're fairly open to understand what kind of a collaboration model we can adopt. We have our colleagues from our additive business coming to visit us in a few weeks, and we're quite open. Okay, very good. Thank you.